So thank you for the presentation. Reed, Kathy, Rudy. Thank you to our CPS board members, Dr. Mackey, my representative, Janie Martinez-Gonzalez, and Dr. Romero for being here, and our RAC members in attendance, specifically my RAC appointee, Al Rodriguez, as well as Dr. Femi Osedeli and Didi Belmares, who very graciously keep me in the loop on these issues and what's happening at the RAC. Femi assures me that your recommendations are based on data and model-based analysis, and I very much appreciate that. Your hard work and due diligence on this matter is appreciated. I also appreciate your commitment to build transparency throughout the process. There's 3 areas I want to focus on, and I think that I see that in the presentation: preparing for growth, ensuring that we're prepared and don't get caught off guard again like we did for Uri, and then of course looking out for our most vulnerable neighbors. I want to make sure that we're doing the best we can with what we've got, and I have confidence that the RAC is ensuring that. And I know that there's a lot of compromise when it comes to that, as we talked about. There's people on all parts of the spectrum when it comes to this, but I do feel like there's a compromise that's come forward. And I think that we have a plan to get it done, so that's the most important thing to me. The presentation lays out the process you followed to reach your decisions, and I don't have a concern with that process. I mentioned I appreciate the transparency, and you make a good case to support the recommendations, and I do, again, really respect the RAC's work. You've heard me say after the winter storm that over and over again that we can only claim to be caught off guard one time. We can't say that again. So that means that we have noted today consistent and reliable energy generation. This is a public safety concern, a public health issue, and of course an economic issue. And your recommendation, I believe, addresses my concerns and more importantly the concerns of the people that I represent, not just in my district but in my city. I want to take time to consider briefly what was mentioned in the presentation. Kathy mentioned that population growth and serving our more vulnerable populations were considered in a holistic approach. And I'd like to see that as we go along, a more in-depth conversation with our general planning. Councilwoman Sandoval's request to revisit the plan every few years is important to review as technology evolves, but also as our city grows. We're growing exponentially, and you talked about maybe 3 to 5 years, and while we're reassessing the technology and what we can bring to the table here, we have to also take that snapshot of the current population and what we're dealing with in the future. Our population growth and vulnerable populations are central to any discussion about energy generation. They're the standard by which a publicly owned utility operates, and I believe that that's the standard by which CPS operates. And I just think it's also good business. But I spoke this week with Dr. Monica Cruz. She's a demographer at UTSA, and the conversation focused very much on the importance of estimating and preparing for our population growth. Something that we need to recognize is not, we're not just talking about a number that's growing. These are individuals who need services in all different kinds of realms, and they're coming from different economic situations. Changes to our energy generation resources, they're not just technical and mechanical, they're also about, mainly really about the people that we're serving, our citizens, our businesses, and of course our local economy. Knowing that we're in the fastest growing city, that alternative energy resources can be cost prohibitive, and knowing our largest economic center in San Antonio anyway, our small businesses, can you tell me how you're working to ensure that the transition will be efficient, cost effective, and accessible for not just current San Antonians, but our future San Antonians?
So thankfully, when Councilwoman, when you're really good at solving problems, you kind of get more problems, right? And so, Reed and the RAC's next, next accountability is going to be to have a conversation about rate design, and so I think when you couple, kind of the future of our generation plan with the conversation about rate design, and then we come back to council to kind of reconcile, that policy. I think, what you have is kind of a holistic view of how we get from where we are today to there, to ensure that we're paying attention to those most vulnerable, that we're looking at our small businesses to ensure, that the way rates are structured encourages efficiency and some of the things that we've talked about at the Municipal Utility Committee and at Council. So I think when you add our 2 kind of charges together of the RAC, as we kind of move forward, you're going to see us kind of look at this on the holistic manner. Not only what are some of the drivers of the investment we have to make in our utility, but then how do you recover those costs from our customers in a way that allows us to kind of be cutting edge on the way rates are designed as well. So I know, let me put it to you this way, I know we will have a fruitful conversation about rate design next, and then we will come back to council and try to put it all together.
Okay, thank you. Was that my time? I never use my time up. Okay, all righty. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
Thank you, Councilmember Cabello Havrda. Councilmember